right, we are starting off. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Good evening from Nigeria. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good day from wherever you are joining us for this Black Belt session. We welcome each and every one of you, and we hope that this session will be one that will really bring a new idea, new light into your intellectual capacity. We have with us today one of our seasoned black belts, someone on the social media space that has been making enormous waves. Her name speaks for her a lot. She's a master's degree holder in educational administration. She's also a literacy educator, an instructional designer, a learning and development professional. Not only that, she's a Microsoft certified educator and a Microsoft innovative educator expert. Wow. With such a portfolio, you will know that we are not just going to be taught, but going to get enriched today. So with our best emojis, let's welcome Miss Kemi Ogunsanya as she takes the stage. Let's show her some love. Let's show her some love. Miss Kemi, floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Prince Patrick. Thank you so much for the warm introduction, and thank you to everyone. I'm glad to be here this evening. I already see a lot of familiar faces who have joined the meeting, and it's glad to be here. Okay, so I'm going to move really fast as I start. Please give me a minute to share my screen. Okay, all right. So, first of all, I had the option of choosing the topic I wanted to speak about today. And when I was given that option, I had to really think carefully. And I'm like, okay, so what topic do I actually want to speak about? And then I chose this topic, creating educational resources, because it's a topic that I'm really passionate about as an educator. So everything I'm going to be sharing this evening, I'm just sharing practical tips. I'm not sharing anything abstract. I'm going to be as relatable as possible. As someone who has created lots of educational resources in different forms, I believe that it's something that a lot of educators can get into. It's something that we all should get into because we have the expertise, we have the knowledge, from different subjects that we all teach. So I believe that there should be more educators creating lots of educational resources. And that's why I chose this topic. Okay, so before I move on, I'm just going to ask us, so I need you to think about your classroom every day, and I just want you to put into the chat box 3 items that you use every day within your classroom. 3 items. 3 might be textbooks, could be workbooks, could be other materials, but things that you know that you use in the classroom every single day. Every single day, whether it's a textbook, it's a workbook, it's a marker, just 3 items. 3 items you use in the classroom every day. 3 resources that you use in the classroom every day. When I see some responses in the chat box, I'll move forward. So let's go. Okay, marker, pen, lesson plan. Okay, I've seen that response. Yes, I see the responses. Okay, 2 people have their responses in 3 now. Pictures or images, pen, books. Okay, let's see one more. Periodic table, whiteboard and marker. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for these responses, because this is where I will be building on the foundation for this session. Now, why did I ask that question? I asked that question because that is where my journey to creating educational resources actually started from. looking around my classroom, looking at all of the resources that I use in my classroom every day, and then asking myself, which of these resources can I actually create? So every day in my classroom as a literacy teacher, I'm using literacy workbooks, I'm using this flashcard, I'm using this, I'm using that. I asked myself, which of these resources can I actually create for myself? Someone is making these resources. So who says that I cannot also make these resources? And that's how my journey started. Like I said earlier on, as a literacy teacher, I use a lot of flashcards. In fact, there are times when I need flashcards to teach my students, the little children. Maybe I want to teach them sounds or something. I want to use flashcards, but that particular flashcard is not available. So what do? I'll just cut a piece of paper, I'll use a marker, just design it like a flashcard, and then I use it to teach the students. And that's how my journey started. So again, the question I asked at the beginning of this session is really critical. Looking into the classroom and thinking of which of those resources you can actually create. So someone puts, I'm trying to look into the chat box to see some of those responses. Someone put lesson notes there, someone put textbooks, those textbooks that you use in your classroom, your math teacher, your science teacher, your this, whatever it is, you can actually create something. You can create a workbook, you can create, people have written books that have been storybooks that have been accepted by the government to be used as literacy text for different examinations. Someone put chat in the chat box. So chat, I know an educator that is so big on creating charts. That's what he does. He does charts, he does stickers, he does a lot of those things. So again, the foundation to becoming a creator of educational resources is looking into the four walls of your classroom, looking at the resources that you actually use and asking yourself, which of these things can I actually create? Because there are thousands of schools, maybe millions of schools in Nigeria, right? I think there should be about 1 million schools. Am I correct or wrong? But regardless, there are a lot of schools, lots of teachers. So that means that educational resources will always be in demand. Okay, so I'll move forward quickly. So yeah, my objectives, I want to explore the importance of effective resources. Let's look at different types of educational resources and then strategies for creating these resources. Okay. Now, yeah, so the next slide, please. I hope you can see my screen and I hope it's actually moving forward. I hope it's not stuck. Okay, so, all right, thank you. Yeah, so when we talk about educational resources, it's very broad, very broad. Educational resources are materials, they are tools, they are content designed to support teaching and learning. So when you hear of educational resources, we're not just talking about textbooks here, we're not just talking about workbooks, we're talking about even things that you can use for hands-on learning. So they can be physical, okay? It could be a textbook, it could be a worksheet, it could be a flashcard. So it can actually be physical, and then it can be digital. In this age of technology, you can have ebooks, you can have interactive videos. I'm sure you know that there are teachers that are making a lot of money just by creating learning videos, interactive videos on different topics. It could be a learning app. It could be anything. Okay, it could be what's it called? So let me just share that there's this WhatsApp group that I actually belong to. It's a very interesting group where educators sell resources, and every day I keep seeing dynamic things that just make me smile. So you will see someone say that I'm selling an ebook on how to prepare for graduation ceremonies. Someone will say I'm selling a resource on how to do accounting for your school fees or something. And it makes me smile because it means that a lot of educators are being innovative. We're thinking outside the box. And trust me, people will buy those resources. Don't have it at the back of your mind that, oh, if I create something, there's nobody that will actually buy that resource. No, like I said earlier on, we have hundreds and maybe thousands and millions of schools. So learning is something that is always taking place. So there's always a demand for educational resources, and that's why there's a need for us to all get into it and begin to explore. Educational resources can also be hands-on, so it could be maybe items used to make experiments. It could be games. I mean, anything. I know a teacher right now that creates slides. So she creates slides for different topics. So let's say one topic is respiration. She would design very beautiful slides on respiration and all of that. She will even make it interactive, games, platforms. Educational resources. Please don't think that I'm talking about just textbooks or worksheets. No, I want us to think outside of the box. Resources can be anything and everything that is used in education to present information, to reinforce concepts, and to also engage students in meaningful learning experiences. Okay, on that note, I'm going to move forward fast. Now, resources. There's something I like to call the creativity spark. The creativity spark. Because sometimes some people will say, oh, I don't know what I can actually create. Where do I get the idea from? Like, I don't know what to do. So that's why I put up this concept that I've called the creativity spark. What does it mean? How do you get creative ideas as a teacher that actually triggers you to do something? How do you get those those innovative ideas that spark you up, that trigger you to do something? Number one is the extra mile. And again, all of these things I'm sharing, they're based on my personal experience in teaching. It has worked for me, and I think it can also work for a lot of us as teachers. Number one is the extra mile. What do I mean by the extra mile? As a teacher, there were lots of times in the classrooms when I wanted to teach that the resources were not just available. You go to the school, you make requisitions, those things are not available. But I wasn't the kind of teacher that would just sit back and say, oh, the school did not give me, so that's the end. No, I'll go beyond my comfort zone. I look around me, okay, what can I do to actually make this lesson actually come alive? Because for me in the classroom, I mean, my goal for every lesson was, okay, what can I add? What can I use to make this lesson interactive? So first of all, if you want to be the kind of teacher that can create lots and lots of resources, you must be willing to go the extra mile. That's where creativity comes from. Now, I can tell you that a lot of resources that I've created now, that I've sold, that I keep, has become a stream of income for me. It came from going the extra mile. Like I mentioned earlier, there were times when I needed things in the classroom. It wasn't available. What will I do? I'll get a piece of cardboard. I'll cut it. I'll design it. I'll do something. I'll just take it into the class and use it to teach. Little did I know that those things I was doing, they were building up some creativity in me. And those things have now become resources that I now make, I print out in bulk, I sell, and all of that. Number two is influence. As teachers, you want to be creative, okay? The kind of teachers you actually follow, what you see, whether it's on social media or around you, is actually important. So as a creative teacher, you must have the right influence of other creative teachers around you, not the kind of teachers who keep complaining about the school, complaining about the headmaster today, the principal tomorrow, what else the next day. There must be that influence around you of teachers who can push you, teachers who are also creative. Again, for me as a teacher, when I started out teaching, following a lot of educators who were doing exploits in different parts of the world was a creativity spark for me. So for every time I'm following a teacher who is doing something amazing, whether it's in Nigeria or Egypt or any other country in US, anywhere, when I see the great things they're doing, there's a spark in my mind. I also want to do something, okay? When I see how they decorate their classrooms, when I see the kind of resources that they use, I'm also, there's that influence. I also want to do something. So you cannot be a teacher who wants to create educational resources and you're not associating with other creative educators. It doesn't work that way. Now, as a teacher who wants to create educational resources, that's where creativity starts from. Look beyond the ordinary. I've mentioned this earlier. Don't be a teacher that keeps complaining about things in your classroom. Try to look for ways that you can make impossible possible. Okay, don't always look at limitations around you, rather see possibilities. And you know, the next point to the creativity spark is, as a teacher who wants to create resources, you must be willing to explore. You should be flexible to new trends. Everybody is talking about AI now. Some teachers are creating resources about how to use AI, and people are buying it, whether it's an ebook, whether it's a course, whether it's anything. You must be flexible to new trends. Okay, you should also be willing to the point is, you should be willing to explore. You should be willing to try new things beyond what you're used to. Okay, you learn about something, you can create a resource out of it and also teach other people. So let me move forward. So these are some of the resources I've created on the screen right now. Not all of them, but these are some of them. I'll still get back to them later. Why do you need to create educational resources as a teacher? Number one, there are educational needs all around us. All around us, there are educational needs. So yes, when you're creating those resources, you're addressing those needs. There's also a demand. I've mentioned this earlier. There are lots of schools. There's learning taking place every day, everywhere across the world. So you're meeting a demand when you create those resources. You're also sharing your expertise and knowledge when you're creating educational resources. A lot of us have gathered so much experience, 5 years of teaching, 10 years of teaching, 15 years of teaching, and even more. I mean, don't keep that expertise within you. Create something out of it, whether it's just create something out of it to share that expertise and knowledge. Now, the next point is, why should you create educational resources? This is perhaps maybe the most important one, right? It's a potential for passive income. So just today, I went to drop off some, I think 8 packs of my resources somewhere just today. So someone bought 8 packs and I went to drop it off because I was in that axis. That's some income coming in for me beyond what my regular salary and all that is. So creating resources is a potential for passive income. I also have resources online, so people can buy those resources. All I'll get is a notification on my phone telling me that, oh, Kemi, someone has just bought your resource on this platform or another platform. So the point is, creating educational resources can really help you to boost your income. A lot of us are complaining about our salaries, Nigeria, economy, this and that. Creating educational resources is a pathway to help us in that area. So the next point is, what makes a good educational resource? What really makes a good resource? Because truly, there are good resources, there are bad resources. I'm sure all of us know some textbooks that we use in our schools that when it's purchased a particular year, by the next year we all tell, I don't know if you've experienced that before. You're telling your principal or maybe the admin that, please don't buy this book next year. We don't like it. It's not good. It doesn't fit in with what we really want. I'm sure some of us have experienced that with some books, right? So not all resources are actually qualitative. So what makes a good educational resource? Number one, you want a good resource. It should be aligned with curriculum and learning objectives. So what do I mean by this? You should have clear learning objectives for your resource. Educational. Okay, maybe a workbook or something. Just make sure that it aligns with the curriculum standards that you're focusing on. Another thing is that a good resource should be able to engage different learning styles. So some resources can be good for, visual learners, some auditory learners. I'm sure we see videos on YouTube about you see videos, maybe it's a song about a particular topic or something like that. Someone created that resource, someone put it up there on YouTube, and for every time you watch that learning resource, that video, someone is making a lot of money. So your resource should be able to engage, different learning styles. Your resource should also be easily accessible. So that's a major point, easily accessible. If people want to actually get your resource, they should be able to access it easily. So that means you must have done the job of putting out the platforms where your resource can be, where people can get your resource from. Your resource should also be reusable. You don't want something that isn't durable enough, so people use it and, I mean, it's not quality. And then a good educational resource, I believe, should also encourage critical thinking and also interaction among learners. Okay, so quickly, I'm just going to share my journey towards creating educational resources. I think I've done that already when I started, though. I've talked about how it was looking into the four walls of my classroom. That's how the journey started. I looked into my classroom, and I think it's something that can work for you. I mean, look into your classroom, write down the things that you use in that classroom, and ask yourself, which one can I make from this? Which one can I start doing? It doesn't have to start so big. It can be those, but there's definitely something you're using in your classroom right now that you can also create as an educator. So for me, I was clear about what my purpose was. I wanted to create something engaging. I wanted to create resources for, I mean, children when I first started out. I also wanted to do something related to my niche. Now, for me, I've been a literacy educator teaching grammar, creative writing, reading, spelling, all of those literacy subjects. So most of the resources I've created are aligned with that. In my journey towards creating resources, for every time I'm creating an educational resource, I'm very specific about what my target market is. What do I mean by this? So for example, I have a creative writing workbook that I created because I've taught literacy for so many years, almost 10 years, right? I'm very familiar with those topics, how to make it exciting. So I decided to make a creative writing workbook. And my target was, okay, children between this age to this age, children between the ages of 7 to 11. I'm very clear about it. I've also created faith-based resources. So I've created a resource that is scriptural for children, positive affirmations that are scriptural for children. It's important that if you're creating resources, you're clear about who needs this resource, who is going to actually buy this resource, so that you're not just creating something and, I mean, there's no market for it. And then once you get your idea for your resources, please don't let it just die. Don't let those ideas die with you. If you need to put pen to paper, start writing down. If you need to go on, create a document, just jot down your ideas. Just start from somewhere. Someone told doing that, and I told her, you know, first of all, get the idea you want to. What topic do you want to create your worksheet on? So you're a math teacher, you want to create a worksheet on addition and subtraction and what have you. Go on your Microsoft Word or any other documents you want to use. Type down your ideas there. How would the questions look like? What questions do you want to put there? Just first of all, type it somewhere. Don't let it just be in your head and you're saying, I know what I want to do. No, first of all, put it down. You may then need to go to different platforms to get the design done. Maybe you even need someone to help you do the design. But please don't let the ideas just stay stuck with you. Okay, so this resource you actually see right now in the background is a pack of flashcards that I created. And let me tell you how I got this idea. So it's called the Family Bonding Pack, and it's a conversation starter pack that parents can use with children. So this is how I got the idea. I tutor students, by the way, from different countries in the world. And when I teach these students, I always like to start my classes in a very interesting way. So I don't start my lesson with, hello, good evening, we have this. No, I'll first start with a question. Sometimes I start with riddles or puzzles or quizzes. I just like to start with something really nice. You know, sometimes I ask them critical thinking questions. So I used to do that for my classes. And one day, one of the parents she was listening to me while I was having the class with her daughter, and she said, "Oh, Miss Kemi, I like those questions you were asking my child. Can you send those questions to me so I can also use them with my other children?" And I mean, for me, I wasn't even thinking so far at that point. So I just sent her, my bank of those questions. So I have this folder where I keep those things. So I just sent it to her and I moved on. And one day I was traveling, I was going somewhere, and I just sat down and I'm like, if this woman actually thought this thing was good enough and she wants to use it with her other children, who says that I can't push it out to other people? I mean, the idea for this resource is it's a form of starter activity. So it's something that parents can use with their children, like I said, just to start out conversations. Every card has a critical thinking question. Every card has a point that parents can raise with their children, and they can just begin to get their thoughts and opinions about different things. And when I got the idea, I wrote down all the points. I just put it somewhere. At that point, I wasn't sure of the platform that would help me with designing and all that. So I called someone that I knew could help me do the designs and all that. And somehow, gradually, I printed it out, did all of it, and pushed it out. And it's been making great sales. So it's even this particular resource that I went to drop 8 packs of it earlier today somewhere. So let me move on. Again, I've talked about the types of educational resources, so I don't want to stay too much on this point. What are the steps to actually creating your educational resource? Okay, so the first stage is the stage of putting down your ideas. Content development. That's the first stage. Whatever it is, whether you're creating, a physical kind of resource, it's digital, it's hands-on, it's intuitive, whatever it is, the first thing is getting your idea. And I've told you my own secret trick for getting ideas: looking into my classroom, looking at what people use for learning, also following other teachers doing amazing stuff, and trying to see possibilities. So you should first of all be able to cook up your idea. How do you cook up your idea? First of all, you can focus on your subject area. Okay, you're a math teacher. You've been teaching math for 20 years, for 10 years, for 5 years. You can create something related to that. Okay, it could be a video, learning videos on different topics in math that you're putting out on different platforms. It is a resource. It could be a workbook. It could be a worksheet. It's something. You can do something related to your subject area. You're teaching geography, you're teaching social studies, you're teaching CRS, you're teaching different subjects. There's something that you can do related to that subject. So think about it. For me, as a literacy educator, I've done learning resources for literacy, for teaching grammar, for teaching other subjects. I've done a creative writing workbook. I'm exploring my subject area. So you can explore your subject area. Another one is general expertise. So beyond our subject areas as teachers, there are other things that we're good at. Just general expertise, something you know that you're really good at. You can create a resource out of it. It doesn't have to be strictly, because I'm a math teacher, it has to be math. No, you could be, you can be good in something else and you want to explore that area. So yes, another way you can get ideas to create your resource, religious orientation. Yeah. For us, Nigeria is a very religious country, but beyond just Nigeria, let's think global, right? Religion is something that a lot of people are deeply involved in. So regardless of your religion, you can create something. It could be a chat that has something, maybe, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, there's something you can create related to your religion that some people will need. Okay. For me, I mean, I've mentioned this earlier that I created a scriptural positive affirmation card. So it has scriptures from the Bible. It has positive affirmations that children can say to themselves to build their confidence. I mean, for people who are Muslims, there are resources everywhere related to religion. So it's just for you to be able to think and say, okay, which one do I want to explore? Okay, let me move forward. Okay, these are types. Okay, now when you cross that barrier of what aspect you want to focus on, whether it's your subject area or religion or your general expertise, the next thing you want to focus on should be the objectives for your resource. Your resource should have, I mean, a particular focus, right? You should be able to say, okay, at the end of when people use this resource, this is what they would know, or this is what they will learn, this is what they would understand as a result of using my resource. So you should have that. The next thing is age appropriateness. If you're creating a resource, you need to be specific about the age range of the people who would use your resource. Yeah, so maybe you're saying children within the ages of 7 to 10, or maybe it's for adults, or it's just important that you're clear on the age limits for your resource. If you want to create resources for children, I'm sure I mean, it has to be colorful, it has to look engaging. It shouldn't just be dull. The color should be bright, right? Because you're creating it for children and they usually like things like that. Then another thing you want to focus on is interactivity. It's always great to create a resource that builds interactions. Okay, a resource that maybe a game or just something that is interaction attached to it. Okay, I'm just going to focus on some resources here, just a few resources. I'll start from creating flashcards. And this is something I've done over and over again. I've become a pro at, and I think it's a lucrative stream. If you're a teacher who teaches early years, if you're an early years teacher here, please you can create flashcards, all those flashcards of sounds, or sight words, of my, those things that people in early years do. Do we have any early years teacher on this call? I mean, there are lots of resources, lots of flashcards that little children use beyond just even early years now, even children at the primary level. You can create a flashcard. I'm a grammar teacher. I can create a flashcard on nouns, on adjectives, on pronouns, and different things. I saw a flashcard pack recently on, what was it about? It was about mathematical formulas, something like that. So each card has maybe the formula for calculating percentages or simple interest or something. I'm just trying to make a point that you can create flashcards, especially if you teach younger. I mean, you teach learners between early years and the primary level. And again, you don't even have to be teaching that particular category for you to create resources. You can even be teaching on secondary students and still create these resources. So if you want to create flashcards, very simple or very easy. You should be able to identify what your objectives are. For example, I just created a pack of flashcards that teaches figurative language. So figures of speech, all those similes, metaphor, personification, all of that. I just created a pack of flashcards now to help teachers teach that particular topic. So that's my objective. I'm very clear about my learning objective. So you should be clear about your learning objective. The next thing is your content. For me, my content was simply, I put sentences that have different figures of speech, and then students are supposed to identify that. So select what your content should be. If you're creating flashcards, it has to be short, straight to the point. Don't just bombard it with a lot of content and words. Your design, layout, and format. I'm going to come back to this because I know it's a very critical point when it comes to creating resources. If you want to design resources, please go on canva.com. Canva has a lot of templates for resources, whether it's worksheets or flashcards, or please go on Canva. Canva, even if you want to create an ebook, Ebook. Canva has templates for creating ebooks. If you even want to create like a real book or textbook or workbook, whatever, please go on canva.com. You're going to see lots of templates that you can use easily. You just need to change maybe the title or the words or something. Yeah. Then if you're creating flashcards, you should be able to utilize visuals, maybe add pictures or something. And then you can then decide if you want to do a print option or a digital option. But I think a print option really works if you're creating flashcards, because a digital option can just get shared and then people no longer need to come to you to actually buy. Okay, I'm going to move into worksheets as a next resource, because I know this is something that a lot of us use. If you want to explore creating a worksheet, again, the first thing is that you determine what your learning goals. I'm sure we know that there are sites where all the teachers do this. They sell worksheets. They sell different resources. If you go to a platform like Teachers Pay Teachers, I mean TPT, I explored that platform a lot. You see teachers that put teachers are creating lots of resources and they share it there. They put worksheets, they put workbooks, they put so many things. So you can also create a worksheet. Just think about it. What topic do I want to create a worksheet on? Is it this topic? Is it that topic? You can choose what kind of questions you want to put on your worksheet. Do you want it to be maybe students are matching something to another thing, or they're solving and placing their answers in a box? What should your worksheet look like? You must be able to choose an appropriate exercise, or a creative kind of problem on the worksheet. It can't just be normal. The next thing about creating a worksheet is organizing your content and your structure, how it would actually look for it to look appealing. And again, that's where a platform like Canva comes into play. Okay, with Canva, like I said, you would get templates that you can use to create your resource. If you're creating a worksheet, might be good to also add maybe a bit of visuals here and there, and also be clear on your instructions. You may also want to provide answer keys. That works for a lot of worksheets. Okay, so let me move on quickly. And so I think I should add at this point that in this era of technology, creating resources shouldn't be difficult for us as teachers anymore. You can basically go online, research what kind of resources people use to teach your subject, if that's what you want to explore. Find out, explore. You can go on ChatGPT and cook up some ideas. Like I said, or like I believe, technology is an enabler. You can maximize technology in different ways. You can get an idea. It doesn't mean you have to copy it and paste it like that. No, you can get an idea and then you're modifying it in your own way. Okay, let me move forward. So in your journey towards creating resources, and so I think I will also mention here that whether it's a flashcard, whether it's a worksheet, whether it's a workbook, whether it's an ebook, the process is still the same. The process still remains the same. From first of all, getting your idea, that's your content, first of all, being clear about what your learning objectives are, organizing the content, organizing the structure of how you want your resources to actually look like, adding visuals, getting the design. The process is basically just the same. You want to create a workbook on a particular topic. So let me use my own workbook as an example. I created a workbook for creative writing for children in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So what did I do, or how did I go about this? I've taught creative writing for many years. So I focused on different topics that I know that children will always learn between the age of 5 and 11 for creative writing, story setting, story characters, all of those things. I first of all created a list of those topics, jotted them down in a document, and then I started building up content on each topic. Again, for the design and all that, you can use platforms like Canva, or you can outsource if you want. Okay. Let me move on to the next slide, because I want to take questions. So I want to be as fast as I can. How do you get tools and resources that can actually help you in your journey of being a creator of educational resources. You can get ideas, or you can get tools to help you from any of these sites that are here right now on the screen, from Canva, from Quizlet. You can use Google Docs to just put your ideas. I mean, these are platforms that really work. I mentioned earlier on that I know a teacher who creates games. All she does is she makes PowerPoint slides, she makes interactive games. That's what she just does. It's a resource and people are actually buying it. For you to create your educational resource, you might need templates. You might need to explore examples of other people that have created that kind of resource. And please don't say that because someone has created this resource, you can't create it too. There's nothing like that. How many math textbooks do we have? How many? Please, can we name some of those? We have general math, right? Which other math textbook do we have? What are the names of? They are just different people authoring different books. So you can't say that because someone has created this resource means that you cannot create it. No, you can also do it. Just make sure you add your own tweak of creativity to it. You want to create resources, you need images, graphics. You can get all of these things, stock images online. You also want to browse out or Google out different kinds of educational content from different platforms. I mentioned teachers pay teachers. Please explore teachers pay teachers. You'll see lots, different kinds of resources that would spark up ideas in you. Okay. Let me move forward. When you create your resource, finally, your resource is not going to sell itself. Your resource will not sell itself. So it's one thing to create educational resources. It's one thing to actually now profit from those resources. You don't want to create a book or this or that so you're not getting a profit from. Now, this is where having a brand really works. I know Prince Patrick thought about, what was the topic? Maybe building a personal brand. I saw that last week. I think he did that. For you to be able to make a resource and actually profit from it, you should have a brand. Be known for something on social media. Let people know, not just on social media, right? Different platforms, but just be known for something. People should know that, oh, Kemi is an educator. So when Kemi creates resources, they want to know what resource it is. They believe that, because they've seen me, they've known me as a good teacher, they believe that my resource should also be good and qualitative, and so they want to buy it. Right, so having a strong brand is really important. That's where social media visibility comes into play. All of the resources I've created and I've sold a lot, I'm going to say that 85% of those resources, I usually sell them, online to people who, to people who know me, yes. And sometimes people who don't even know me, but they follow me, maybe they see my ads or something, they see my post about the resource, and they actually just want to get it. So building a brand works. Building a brand, being known for something would help you when you create your resource. Another thing is having an online store. So seller.com, selar.com. I use seller.com for my resources. Seller does all of the... Okay, so I use seller.com, selar.com. I use it as an online store. You could also want to explore Amazon, all of those platforms that you can actually sell your resource. So make sure you don't just keep it to yourself. You explore different platforms. Utilize social media and networking. It's always great when you make a post on maybe about your resource and other people share it to their network. You can also collaborate with other educators. When you make your resource, don't keep it to yourself. Collaborate with people, collaborate with different platforms. There are platforms where you have to pay for them to advertise your resource. You need to do that for some resources for you to get the kind of sales that you actually need. You can also offer free samples or trials. You can give people something free as a way to let them know more about your resource. Let's say, for example, I'm selling an ebook, and then I have another resource that I'm saying, okay, I'm giving out a particular resource for free, and then when people click on that resource, they actually see another resource that I'm selling, something like that, right? Offering samples like that can help you also market your resource. So I'm not just focusing on creating, I'm also focusing on what comes afterwards. You can create a resource and not get the right profit if you're not pricing your resource correctly. So you should be able to determine the value and market demand of your resource. How valuable is this resource? What's the demand for this resource? You should determine the kind of pricing you're placing on your resource, production cost, the time you invested into creating that resource. All of those factors should be at play. You want to sell your resources that you've created, you should be able to offer things like discounts to people. You'll hear people say Christmas discounts, Easter discounts. There's always, people do discounts for so many things. Why are they doing it? Just to attract people. And then based on feedback, you should be open to feedback about your resource. So let people give you reviews, let people give you feedback, and then you can adjust some things about your resource based on that. Okay, so at this point, I think I'm approaching a conclusion, but I'm just going to summarize all of my major points once again when it comes to creating resources. It begins, first of all, from that spark of idea. It begins first from, having an idea. Okay, it could be you looking into your classroom, looking at the things you use and picking out something that you want to create. It could be you exploring your subject area. It could be you exploring your area of general expertise, or maybe your religious orientation to create something. Those are the foundational things that you need to start off with towards creating resources. Also exploring different platforms. I will always shout Canva when it comes to creating educational resources, because there are great templates there that you can just basically tweak them to create your own resource. So with these few points of mine, ladies and gentlemen, I believe I've been able to give you some form of starter towards, on your journey towards creating educational resources. Yes, so please, let's research, let's explore, look at different platforms, look at what different people are actually creating, and let your own idea, and get inspiration to create your own resource. Yes, so thank you, everyone. Please follow me on my different social media platforms. You would get to see some of my resources and get to know more about me. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. So if there are questions, please, I'm open to your questions.
Thank you so much, Miss Kemi. That was an awesome and amazing presentation. I believe there must be so many black belts on the meet now that have so much burning questions to ask. Please, let's do well to type our questions in the chat box, or we raise our hand so that we can have the questions in an organized form. So if you have any question, please do well to raise your hand so that we can have the questions. I think one of the captivating points for me was when she said, be ready to try new things beyond what you are used to. I think that word has just sparked a new insight into me on something. And I'm just saying, let the world wait and see what is about to come forth. Yes, Miss Member, go on, Miss Member. Unmute and ask your question.
It's not really a question. Firstly, I want to thank you. You've done a very good job. Most of us are looking for this kind of spark, as you said. I want to say that I started something like this. I started because I found out then that handbooks were supplied. I will start dictating some errors for children of age 3, 4, 5, 6. I will be pointing out the errors in those textbooks. So I started writing from age 3, 4, 5. I've written age 3, age 4, age 5. And my proprietress collected the books that she wants to go through it then. That was how I was expecting her to give me back to continue. At the end, she told me she couldn't find it. And that thing really demoralized me, and I had to stop. I had to stop. If I had had this type of this maybe motivation now, I wouldn't have relented. I would have picked up, maybe started again to write. So I want to thank you. Really is a spark. I have that in me, writing, because I always figure out errors in textbooks. So I want to thank you so much. I think I will go back and start all over again. Thank you so much.
Victoria, always make a soft copy. We're now in an
Yeah.
age where nobody should be able to say I lost it.
Eh, you should be able to have a soft copy of your work. No matter how much you have hard copy, make sure you have a soft copy so that it doesn't get, you don't have some, because the world is lacking one major thing, and that's trust issues. So you might not know if the person actually misplaced it or so. So please always have a soft copy.
And
All
it
right,
was,
we have a,
the knowledge there was so much good. In fact, I will go back. Thank you so much, Kemi.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, we have a question. We have Tobe Ganu, Mr. Tobe Ganu. Unmute
All right.
and
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And the prince and our big mommy, Fatima, well done. And I have to appreciate Kemi Ogunsanya very well. I know her. The topic she has presented, she has a lot of strength in the topic. She's good in resources, practical one for that matter. So, well done, Kemi, for doing justice to the topic. However, my question is, we've seen a lot of administrators, school heads, they prefer teachers, after crafting these resources. Some say you have to paste the resources in your classroom. Your classroom have to be so fascinating with resources. And some are of the opinion that you should hold on to these resources until the time you actually need them in your classroom. How do I mean? For instance, I want to teach my learners vocabulary development on Monday. I've crafted my flashcards, well colored. Some school of thought believe that I need to paste these resources in the classroom. Then when it is time for me to use, I make reference, I direct the attention of my learner to these are resources. And some school of thought believe that I should keep these resources. Then when I want to use it, I bring them out, I use it, and I keep it again. So I don't know which of the thoughts you like to shed more light on. Do we paste resources in the classroom? Whenever we want to use it, we refer to them, or resources should be kept until when we actually need them? Thank you so much.
Ms. Kemi, over to you.
All right. So, before I answer that question, those resources that you're actually creating, they are not just meant for your classroom alone. They are meant for the global space. So, you should be thinking of not just using those resources in the classroom, keeping or pasting, but also moving it to the next level. Whether you want to print, you want to publish, please push it on to the next level, because there are other people who would also want to use that resource. Now, when it comes to the concept of if you should hold on to it or put it up in the classrooms, I think first of all it depends on school standards. I'll start with that. For some schools, you're allowed to paste as many things as possible. I mean, on the school walls and all of that. Some schools have restrictions when it comes to what you can paste. So that's one factor you want to consider first of all. Then I think it's not every resource you can actually paste in your classroom. It's not everything you can, even if you have the space, you're permitted by your school standards, it's not everything you can actually paste in on, I mean, on your on the walls. There are some that you may have it with you. There are situations where 2 days before a lesson is when I actually get the idea to create a particular resource. So I create it, I mean, it's with me, and when I have the class, I bring it out, I use it. So you don't expect me to have put those resources on the wall since the beginning of the term. No, because I mean, I got those ideas just maybe a few days or maybe a few hours before that particular lesson. So it goes both ways. Of course, one of the things I usually do is at the beginning of each term or each session, I look at the topics. I'm a lover of classroom decorations. I love beautiful classroom decorations. And when I do that, I look at the topics I'm teaching this term and I look for decorations related to that. I put them on my classroom walls at the beginning of the term, at the beginning of the session. But it cannot be everything those cannot be the only resources I'll use. There are some that will still come up along the way. Thank you. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, thank you.
Any other question? Any other question, comments? Ms. Fatima, do you have any contribution
I
to
just
that
want to
question?
add maybe my final saying that we should also not forget to display children's work, because that also raises their self-esteem. They take great pride in their work. Maybe they've done some artwork. Maybe a good piece of work as well is an example. Maybe you are teaching them creative writing and someone came up with the best piece of writing. You can display it. Or in some schools, what they do as they're going through the creative writing process, they put up best examples of the different stages of the writing. So maybe today they did character description. Maybe the next day they describe the setting, the problem. So children can actually see that. So don't forget that children also take great pride in their own work as well, and encourage them to display their own work as well, and best practice as well, so that children can learn from others' examples. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma, for that. That was true. We should try to see how much we can motivate the children, bring up their creative instincts and also their creative abilities by showcasing their talents. Once you showcase their talents, you make them want to do more. You are always making them hungry, eager to be part of the class. Whatever topic you're bringing up, they are eager to be part of it. So let's do more on that. While the presentation was going on, there was a fan from Pakistan. A fan from Pakistan that was saying she wants to ask a question. I don't know if she's still on the call. A fan from Pakistan.
Afshan.
Okay, Afshan. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, she's on the chat. Can you ask your question? Okay, go ahead, ask your question. Okay, please, let's permit she's typing her questions. In the meantime, while she's doing that, is there any other person that has any question? Okay, she question is how to
I think you meant to say how to engage naughty
children in class.
They're not naughty, they're just children.
I mean,
you have to keep them engaged. Praise the good children, the children that are following your instructions, the children that, oh, look at how well you're sitting, Aisha. Oh, look at how good Kemi is. Oh, look at that, will make them sit up and want to do. So positive praise the good ones, have rewards, especially when there's still like 3, 4, 5, 6 stickers, rewards. Oh, here's a sticker for your good work. Here's that. So praising them, rewarding them, and yes, let them know consequences for bad behavior. But I think encouraging good behavior and praising, positive praise, having boundaries and stickers and rewards usually helps, and making the work interesting and engaging, something that they would like. Let it be something that they would like. Maybe they want to go outside to play. Maybe they want to do some hands-on activity. But let's always switch it back to us. What am I doing that is making these children disengaged? Or some children might also have a problem that we don't know about. Try to talk to the mom. maybe the dad traveled, maybe mom just had a new baby. We don't know. Try to switch it back that there's always a reason. Children don't just want to be naughty for the sake of it. Let's look deeper into the root cause of why a child is behaving like that, especially if they're not usually like that, and all of a sudden they're misbehaving. There might be something happened at home.
Yeah, yeah, you're very right, man. That's correct. I
He's
think
still
one of
saying
the
my
things
student is very naughty.
I think one of the things we should do as educators is to understand that no matter how, children always try to see how they can circumvent everything being done in the class to always do what they feel. But it's all about proper guidance. No matter how, it's all about trying to see that, okay, put yourself in their shoes. You were once a kid, you were once a child. And if you could think back, there were periods or times, yes, you went out of the line. So always put yourself in that shoe and try to see, okay, what may be troubling this child? What may be ailing him or her? And try to understand the person. Even in their wrong acts, you can still try to see the good in them, and using the good, try to pull them out. I once saw there was a, 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 a thing I watched on YouTube, and I saw the teacher guiding the class, and there was this child that was just busy making noise, and the teacher turned to the child and now looked at him and was like, "Oh, Philip, I'm just so unhappy." The child was like, "What happened, miss?" Said, "You have made me cry." Said, "Why?" Said, "Because you're actually making me now not feel happy with the way you're not allowing me to." And the child felt that, oh, what he was doing was wrong. And now, if you look at that, the teacher did not actually scold him, did not act, but looking at him, that what he's actually doing is creating a hurt, will make him understand that no, this thing is not good. So, in a tactical way, you can really turn around everything so that the focus does not mostly feel that look on them that they are actually totally wrong. It's just that there is just a minor thing that has made them want to behave that way. So, Afshan, please, apart from that, don't use such languages on children. No child is naughty. No child is a dullard. Every child is gifted in their own unique way. Thank you. So, I don't think we have any more questions on that. Do we have any more questions for Kemi?
Just to say thank you to Kemi so well. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for that, Miss
There's
Member.
a question. So sorry, please. Someone is asking for a practical walkthrough on Canva. So I think Canva is really easy to explore. It's really easy to explore if you go on it. There are just different templates there, and you need to search out the specific templates that you want. So you can go on Canva and type in worksheet template. It will search it out for you and bring out different options. So just search out different kinds of designs and explore.
I think
Yeah, I
to
might
add
look
to
into,
add to that,
yeah, maybe we can have a section on it. It is very easy to
yeah,
follow.
very easy.
But maybe in the future, yeah, maybe myself or Prince Patrick are very familiar with it. But a lot of, I must admit, at the beginning I did attend a course. It was a
Yeah,
WhatsApp
yeah,
training in the beginning, but even since my training, maybe that was about 3-4 years ago, I have learned so much without training, just by exploring, and Canva keeps adding more and more and more.
yeah. Keep
So,
updating.
a lot of it I have self-taught myself how to do. But yes, somebody did run through the basics with me. But that was it was yeah, it was a group training on WhatsApp that I did years and years ago. But since then, so much has changed. So, but if you want a session, that is something we could look into.
Okay.
Maybe in a couple of weeks, I can talk to Prince Patrick, or we can see what we can do. But it's a very easy to follow, straightforward
Yeah, straightforward too.
tool. Yeah.
All right, man. All right. We'll look into that and hopefully just be on the lookout for such coming up. And on that note, we are way past our time. So we'll like to call it a night, but before we call it a day, let's have the closing remark from Miss Fatima. Any last word, man?
I think Kemi had a very informative session, broke everything down. And as teachers, we have to be creative. We have it, but maybe we're not tapping into it, because for you to plan a lesson every day, for you to manage a classroom of children, you must be creative. There's so many things that we think of in the split second. We have to think of it, we have to do it. So all teachers are creative. And also make good use of the art teacher in your school as well, to help you, maybe if you want to make something or a particular display that you want to do manually. I've been to some schools where they've created these big paper mache models of characters in their school. And so, always put your heads together, teamwork with your co-teachers, and just believe in yourself, and don't feel like it's something you can't do. And also, like she explained as well, there's money to be made if you pitch your resources right. You can also
Yeah.
spread it across the globe and not only your classroom. So it's another way of making income as a teacher, by creating resources. So thank you, Kemi. Thank you, Prince Patrick. Thank you, Black Belts. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week. Yes, there will be a session next week. I'm going to post the flyer maybe tomorrow. Lady is going to come and talk about career compass, how to guide children, how to give career advice and counseling and things like that. So look forward to seeing all of you next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely and great day, evening, and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.